I Know Nothing But Miracles. Walt Whitman Speaks to the Modern World by Joseph Leo Hickey, published by Melodium House. This poetry book contains the writings of a fictional version of Walt Whitman, imagined as if he had lived in the early 21st century instead of the 19th century. This book is dedicated to all those who in error say, poetry is dead. I know nothing but miracles. Breathing, walking, crawling, coming back to the cycle from where we started. The page we wrote now erased and laid barren. Let new poets come and fill these pages with new words. Let those who understand nothing and everything come here and write. All equals within this one cosmos, come and let us write. I assure you as a dearest friend and confidant, that though you believe in miracles, I know nothing but miracles. I see little miracles drop from the skies. I see miracles in sighing when you do not have enough money, and in walking down the street where strangers who will never be known by you walk, and when you do not speak, it is a miracle. When you speak, a miracle, a life fulfilled, purpose met, love promised, and love opened and relived. In every miracle that I see, in the limitless space of emotion, breath, joy, and universes, a nation that has become swallowed in its own great welcoming of strangers, in the thousands, throughout every generation. This nation was an example of hospitality for all, so that when we welcome another, we welcome all. And when we stop, we understand that time has become an engine. This engine marches on, telling us that we are to die in every moment. We are born anew, falling headfirst into an ocean of blue, away from the light, but possessing all things in the arms of hospitality. As we complete our fearsome journey, as we descend into the night, as the ship parts the waves, as the ghosts watching guide us on our journey, how even the leaves of grass will speak to us and tell us what to do next, to avoid the disaster that might befall us. I remember your life and the lives of all in a single moment. I embrace you, and when I do, I become multitudes, one of the many thousands of lovers who have passed away. And they still have returned, because no one who ever lived ever really dies. When after the fearsome flight, in the darkest of nights, away from the creatures that seek your soul, you, though blood-stained, have survived, and greet your family. And when you greet them, you embrace them and embrace all. You fall into their arms. The love you always wanted to feel, when you sat and dreamed sitting on the lawn in front of your home. You dreamed about lives you could live and places you could go. And if there would ever be love in your life, but there is love, and there is joy in the multitudes. There is life everlasting in the moments when we wait at night for the silent hours to pass, as you meet your lover at night and hide with her, and no one else knows you are together. But they will not find you, and they cannot find you. Some things, yes, I will admit, are even too great for me to lose. However, do not argue concerning God. I who love all, do not argue about God. I behold God in every object, in every valley, in every precipice, in every hidden corner. Yet I understand God not in the least. No array of terms can tell you how at peace I am about God and about death. Nor do I understand who there can be more wonderful than myself. I am glowing brighter, and I am exuding the light that guides the nations. I have love and breathe it. I have pain and love and the greatest of charities. In all these moments I sit content, and there is nothing under heaven or in hell that I do not carry with me. I carry the joys of heaven and hell with me. The first I embrace warmly, as a friend, and the pains of hell I translate into a new tongue. I do not rest. I am here waiting for all of eternity into the ages of ages. The mania of buying things and of selling things burdens me. The depression of being alone in an empty room burdens me. The nights and the classes in which I am lectured about worlds I do not understand. I learn all things along with you, and I follow you, though your footsteps are light. They are solid and present a clear path forward through all the adventures. You experience them, I experience them too, and at the same time as you. I have felt heartbreak and unfathomable oceans of pain, and yes, I have felt joy that covers the stars and recreates the worlds. I have heard and made music. I have completed masterpieces of art. I have had the plague and struggled through the turmoil of the disease, and I have died from this disease. I have also walked away from the pain of this disease, and made a complete recovery. The sunrise, you see it, and I see it too. You watch and wonder when love will come, but love has already embraced us and carried us far away, and we will never lose anything truly. We can only gain and experience and fathom. From Ontario to Utah, I in my desperation run with you, and fall headfirst into the ocean where I understand you, and never stop understanding you and fathoming you. Like a bride to a groom, there is truth and gratuity, gratitude and salvation. There is decadence in the celebration, and there is joy in the celebration of lovers united and found each other after 1,000 years of separation. Let this book be a new Bible, what is needed most on the shelves of your libraries. I have walked the snowy streets of New England for the 1,000th time, and in walking there is the feeling of strength, and wondering how the food I eat gives me strength, and wondering what the difference is between now and eternity, and if we have eternity now, or if we will ever attain anything like it, or if it will always be so distant that we can never taste what eternity is like, or if it will be peaceful at all, or if it will be only darkness, only shadows, and only waiting for what can never be touched. Have you seen the ones who are dying? Have you been to those hospital rooms? Have you ever wanted to be so close to the nature of humanity that you could not think of leaving your own shell? I have love within my soul for all those who are suffering, because I waited there, I watched. I saw her in a hospital gown, and the plans we had made were gone. As the life left her face, as we became distressed by the disease, threatened by the wars, controlled and then agitated, and then finally, we are up in arms, ready to fight the battles, but we never fight these battles alone. If you want to know anything about why pain exists, ask a child. Consult with the stars and the passing breeze, because my answers will not be better than theirs. And if you gain these answers, come at once to me. For I have always wanted to understand what stuff we are made of, where we are going, because I am not contained between my hat and boots. Consult the stars and the passing breeze if you want to know what lies we have been told and if the truth will ever be known. If you would understand anything about the depth of the hours that are passing, you would have learned more than all the scholars in the universe. If you have felt compassion, know that I have not only felt compassion, but I have felt exasperating joy of love pouring out from me, that I would never contain, even if I tried to contain it for the rest of my days. How can anyone contain their charity? How can you not give yourself whenever you give? I ask nothing from the world except to fall headfirst away from it, and to find other worlds, where we will be in perfect union. If you crave a connection to something better than what you know, come and greet the rainfall, and come and find joy as we stand underneath the waterfall. You will understand truth when you understand your own imagination and your own longing, and your own desire to help those who are surrounded by despair, and who are falling into doubt that they will ever have the life they wanted, a life where there is love and stability, reconciliation and depth. When midnight comes, I am up and weary, from the tears, from the domestic abuse, from the pain of memories destroyed, from the promises broken and never mended. As the time passes more, we lose what we cared about more than anything. The poet will never stop feeling. The poet will never stop expressing. The poet has an imagination bigger than any who spoke before. The poet is here, and his time is now. In these states, and over the airwaves of the nations, many do not listen to the poets. But at the same time, pain is destroyed when the words of the poets were spoken. In every classroom, in every nation, a peace that begets experience, and an experience that proceeds from understanding. When the poet lost the one who he loved, he wrote words like tears that flowed from a pen instead of from his eyes. His words overflowed, and then the ghost of love stayed here, on this planet forever. The friction between what we feel and what we want. The news I read about not only a nation in turmoil, but a world in flames. How in this moment we become desperate to fall into the arms of someone who cares. Where in this moment we grow into new persons, when we are faced with the desperate choice to stay or to leave forever. When our futures, now and forever, were always drenched in gasoline. I'm not far from you, though I've never met you. The soldier, after coming home from wars, turns on the news and is silent in distress, knowing that the world is a more dangerous place with every passing day. He also knows that he is not far from another war zone, and that this war has followed him wherever he goes. The priest offers incense and prayers for a nation that has neglected its people. The dictator walks through the streets of a country subjugated by him, and he will eat while his people starve. The time passes while I can hear the clamor of so many armies. The time passes while I can see visions of promises that will never be fulfilled. I feel the time passing, and there are lovers separated on opposite ends of the world. And we are all connected. We will never be separated if we tried. And they have grief that tears through their souls. And this grief eats away what was left of a shallow life. Eats away the pain. Eats away the heart. Eats away the soul. Eats away all charity and burns until it tears through the body and makes them too depressed to move or to do anything again. When poetry is more valuable than life, mercy is better than justice. When you understand my words and believe them too, and you are not threatened by those who would burn you. The Inquisition too presides over a trial. They present the heretic for burning. Words long forgotten, words like love your neighbor, I imbibe into my soul and I sing it as an anthem, which you understand when you come face to face with the death you fear, when you meet people who hate you, and they do not know anything about you. We judge others before we know them. We do not even listen to them. And then you are found dead on the bathroom floor, a death that grieves your family, until eventually they move on and forget you. But not everyone forgets you. I have felt the pain you feel. I have taken your hand when no one else did. I have called your name from far away. An endless field of grass in front of me, and my hands reach out as I walk, feeling the dreariness of this morning and the sound of the birds, the ghosts between the places where I thought I would see the consequence of this passing time, but instead are ripples that echo forever with the same existence they have always had. They never leave here or forsake their original intent. All find their purpose, all arrive exactly where they need to be. Opposite equals always advancing, craving their own fulfillment, while writers sit with their ink swords in hand, telling stories about what they feel, and all others will feel, but have not felt yet. They hang their weight upon me, and will not falter. Those lingering in green fields with cameras and pounding keys on their fingertips. They create portraits of the time that is passing, the moments that all the other worlds had forgotten. The dreams which countless souls held as meaningless, the charades of passing time, in which we stand, held in the arms of our own families. They know that in the sound of the human voice is comfort. Hearing the voice of your own brothers, and you hear the birds in early morning, knowing that you are not forsaken, but instead you find untranslatable joy, filling rivers and lakes insatiably and mercilessly. When you stand pensive and silent, when you have held your sword so close to your hands, when homes are burned down and destroyed, I invade all these spaces. The soldiers harness their carbines and prepare to fire. The soldier is shot, finds himself away from the world he had known, and spends the rest of eternity seeking his loved ones, while his fiancée descends into fits of depression, waiting for the end of despair, and I greet a stranger on his deathbed. From all the rest I single out you, having a message for you. My friend, you are to die. I cannot lie to you or say it will be easy for you. I am exact and merciless, but I love you. There is no escape for you. I sit quietly by. I remain faithful. I am more than nurse. I am more than parent or neighbor. I absolve you from all except yourself, spiritual, bodily. That is eternal. You yourself will surely escape. The corpse will leave, but will be but useless. Through so many expressions of speech, eloquent words to fill prosaic and antiquated books that ramble on about everything that you study in med school and in business school, while I study the stars and study the passing faces of strangers on the Greyhound bus to the new city. Do not forget that silence is also expressive. As I sit beside you saying nothing, I know we are more connected than you would ever dream. I know we are more united than we could ever understand. As the runner drinks in water after running so long and growing so strong, the relief he feels will be like the expression of silence, of so many goodbyes, so much sighing, lying next to your husband breathing silently, and the silence of the nations going to war when no one stood up against the violence. Yes, I will be that silence as well. I do not discriminate between the right and the wrong. I emphasize all sides equally. I am the poet of joy and the poet of life, but I do not claim not to be the poet of death and evil and disaster. I flow through all sides and filter them from myself. Come, such verses for the body let us write, my own love, my own joy, my own nightmares, all proceeding and existing in or emanating from me like a glowing orb. In this you will find my book, the clash of kingdoms and the war of nations that precedes the end of days. Presidents did not regret their decisions or lust for power. How you can flow through these nations during this time when the world is on the brink. I tell things in secret. I might not tell everyone, but I will tell you. There are moments when gratitude floods the world. There are moments when the world is more divided now than it will ever be. When we do not understand that none of us are divided. That we falter in the night after walking blindly. We linger in places we never wanted to go. We find miracles in places we would never expect them. We chase dreams we believe to be unattainable, and follow the multitudes as they try to find a place in the world. In the morning hearts are broken, but they are mended only in time. Life has become unrhymed poetry, as each hour passes without telling us why, or if it knows the effect it has on us when it vanishes. Another day spent waiting, and I celebrate myself, and what I assume you shall assume, because every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I invite you to understand that if we are not the tying and the untying of the riddle, we are nothing. If we are not here to remember what has not passed away, we are nothing. If we are not the beginning of hope, in the midst of the greatest despair, then the world will never be colder than it is now. I am faithful. I have not lost you. I did not give out. I sing myself and of you. Places of worship, empty fields, universities, slums which I walked through alone. All of these you know, but these are close to us. I have not left you. You know my name. I am Walt Whitman, liberal and persistent as nature. During the day I will never exclude you, and during the night I will never exclude you. I accept everyone equal and worthy as myself, because in a dream we have become the same person. I have a message for all slaves in nations far away, and for the master of every slave, for the preacher teaching his flock, for the one who listens but does not understand why he believes, for those praying in mosques, for the temples in a long forgotten time, for the choir that sings hymns of praise and thanksgiving. But what makes us different? What is a man anyway? All I know is who I am. Now 26 years of age, I begin to write, to paint an imperfect portrait of the way the world is. Shut not your doors, proud libraries, because I have made a book. What is lacking but needed most on your well-filled shelves I bring, a book less than all in stature, but greater than all in power. Listen to my simple words, the book that defines who we are. The kelson of creation that holds all the universe together is love. And I know that you are my brother, and all the women who are not heard are my sisters and lovers. I stand in the New York City streets. I'm a citizen of this city. What interests those here? Religion, politics, power, money? However, I do not ask anything of them. I do not ask anything except that they understand the words I write, that they listen to the words I say. I travel on buses across the United States, hoping that you will understand. From Maine to Virginia, I am suffocating. I go to many funerals, and I visit those facing death and dying, to remind myself that my lungs are only here for a temporary amount of time. My dear friend, one day your heart will stop, and you will not get away. And who truly knows what happens when we die? I will be the first to say that it is just as good to be born as to die, because the sun will always rise, the new day will always dawn. Though the earth is thousands of years old, the world will never end. We believe our nations will never be destroyed. We are too delusional. We are too carefree. and we will weep together when we realize what we have lost. When my voice is not heard and when yours is drowned out, we know what is stirring in humanity now, which will speak about who we are in reality. I am ruthless to all with charity. I walk down the streets across from the school, memories we have but will never come to life again. We cannot imagine who we will become. We have become so comfortable with who we are, but nothing lasts forever. So many stories we will never hear. The day I die, I will not be afraid because there is nothing painful, nothing I fear about death, but at the same time, the sorrow it fills us with is unbelievable. The strangers I have seen and will never see again. We look each other in the eye, but then we are gone. The sound of the early dawn. What is stirring within human nature? From the crowded streets of New York to the empty but not forsaken meadow. The road goes wherever I choose to go. I ask nothing of you. I ask not for money. I ask God for nothing. I ask him not for good health or good fortune. I myself am good fortune. In the quiet meadow, the depths of the hours are passing. We live in an ocean. We believe we will die alone, but we will never be alone. Here in the solitude, in this meadow, where I am the only human soul, I feel at peace. I feel at peace alone. I feel at peace in my front yard when the missionaries come to my door. I tell them what is needed to be heard most, what they have not discovered. I am at peace when you lay beside me, such a transparent summer morning. It matters not who you are or what you have done. I do not despise you. Henceforth we will understand that we are not separated. We are here together if you breathe. I am in love with the taste of the distillation. The house is full of perfumes, but I keep your creeds and schools at bay. The distillation of the perfumes could intoxicate me, but I shall not let it. Have you heard the news? Have you been keeping up with what is going on in the world? What does it mean to waste your time? I pass you by in the street. I write every day about myself on the internet. The only place I am lonely, and the only time I am heard, when everyone is giving me their attention, and when we are told where to be. Have you thought about the earth much, and what it means to breathe? Have you thought about what you felt when you took your first breath? Did the air ask you to pay for it? God is among us. God is generous. God is my beloved brother. God is my beloved sister, and today we live. Tomorrow we will certainly die, but my God is watching over me. I do not find him in a book. I do not find him except in the church. The church is the empty fields where the lovers ran away together, where they laughed and told each other that they would never leave each other. I do not say whether they were faithful. I can make only so many promises, but I will say that the moment they promised it to each other was what is now and ever shall be, world without end. When our ship has steered its course, on the verge of a war that will destroy the planet, there will be no gates of pearl. There will be no sea of glass. There will be no living creatures. We will recognize that what we are, and I'm so terribly sorry, my dear friend. I never promised you that the world you hold dear will last forever. The world will never end, but the one you love will die. We are facing shipwreck. We are falling into the fire, but remember the empty fields. Is there anything they can do in the next 500 years to discover what you did not tell a soul? If we lose the words, we lose our tongues, and we do not connect at all. Who will understand? Who will whisper your words even in the dark? I will find out what was lost. I am the prophet of the forgotten lovers, the days that we forgot, the times we cried and the times we laughed, the days we were lost in a world quite far from home. If you believe this is all there is, atheist, I do not consider you my enemy. If you believe in God, then I consider you my brother. If you follow words from ancient books, I will follow them as well. If you follow no creed, I will renounce the ideas that hold us down. But above all, I will be there for you, because I know that we are falling together. Do not give up on the fight for love, you who the world rejects because of who you love, the color of your skin, or the ancient creed you hold. I am with you and beside you, and I celebrate myself, because the days will go by, and one day we will be separated somewhere on the face of the earth. But remember the joy that should come when you recognize that few of the leaves of grass are paid attention to, and even fewer are named. But they exist in the same world. They exist because they are alive. Swaying in the breeze one day, the next they are thrown into the fire. They give themselves away. They disappear without saying why, and without understanding anything. And my friend, I sat in those classrooms too. And I say to you, get your education. Learn about this grand world while you are young. So then, you can teach others how to love. I would never go to college because money is not my concern. I give everything I have and never ask of it back. I give my soul through this book to whoever asks for it. And when you meet someone that you love, remember to hold her close. Remember to not let her go. Because we never realize what we have, not even when it's gone. But through my words you will uncover the secret you need to understand. And I'm gasping with every breath. This is what I wanted to tell you so badly. Each day that I have known you. You are the untying of the riddle. You are the waning of the sun. You are the cold winter evenings when I long to hold someone. My love is for all creation. My love is for everyone that accepts the generous sunlight. Now that you know, my friend, what I've been holding in for so long, we can move on. We can strive to find a way to end all wars. A way to break free from those who expect us to follow a routine. We stand here like trees in the ground, our feet are sinking through. But we must learn to let it go. To let go of the things we think we love. It is different for every person who lives and walks the earth. The drug dealer loves his money, and he gets a thrill from risk. The slaver in a faraway land loves the labor he gets for free, but he does not understand the sweat of the bondman's brow, and he cannot sleep at night. The musician loves to make the crowd in front of him sing, songs he worked on his whole life. The doctor knows her patients. She knows that they will die, if left to their own devices, which is why I must trust you and trust my God with my soul. We are not alone tonight. Though we have the life sucked out of us, let us not have the life sucked out of us. Let us instead suck the marrow out of life. Seize the day while you are young, but do not be blinded by your youth. Like a bright and shining summer sun, it makes it impossible to be cold. And many years from now, on our deathbeds, we will feel the warmth disappear. What did we do with our lives? What is your money making now? What is your posterity now? What is your hope now? What is your love life now? From Newfoundland to Chile, and every other corner of the earth, there will be no way to escape death, but make the most of it while you are alive. Do not let the night slip away. Do not walk quietly in it. Do not make no mark on the world you hold so close. Do not claim to love if you are not there for the beggars in distress, because you and they could have been the same person. The ones in a nation far away, a nation you could not visit if you wanted to, the ones enslaved and taken from their families, you and them become like the same person. You cannot forsake yourself. If you forsake yourself, you have no reason to be alive. But the joy I feel, my dear friend, fills me with tears every day. I do not always express. I am often quieter than most, which is why when you see me on my own, I never draw attention. I am alone like the rest of the world. We strive to touch each other's souls, but the same cycle happens every day. Every day we are alone. What are your reasons for going to war? But what will soon be forgotten? What are the things that happened to us during war? But what will never stop racking my heart? I do not know why you want to fight to take advantage of others, but we are peaceful, and I am always there for you. Tonight I know that everything I hear, everything I see is poetry. Every word I can understand is beautiful, and the words I don't understand are true. Because if we took the time to slow down, we would quickly understand that there are no divisions in time. It is one and the same moment, the moment that exists here and now. When the snow falls in Virginia, when we are alone inside, after the longest time of no work, because we cannot get ourselves outside, and I am not distracted except when I hallucinate. I think you are calling me, but you are not, and then I am distracted. I think you're sending me letters, but you are not. I think you're sitting side by side with me, but we are not. You are all of humanity. My sisters, my brothers, don't you know, don't you feel? Can you hear the words I say to you when the sun goes down and the war begins that will destroy the world? I will be the last of the poets and the last of the prophets, here at the end of the world, when everything we knew is gone. It will be so dramatic. It will be nothing to smile about. But even though we are alone, the last ones who are breathing, I will give you something to keep and to smile about, a reason to recognize that even now, at the end of the world, at the end of the nuclear winter, we made some mistakes, and before we say goodbye to the ones who caused this, to the ones who were the victims, before we die of the radiation, we will recognize we spent so much of our time working that we forgot to live. We spent so much of our time receiving that we forgot to love. And long after we are gone, and long after no one remembers us, remember that the kelson of creation is love, the love I have for you. Remember the politicians in power who thought they knew what we need, and one day we will go to a concert and hear the music from the stage, stories about forgotten lovers from every song. Stories about regressive religions remind me that I am not like most. I can see the world in a different light. I hold myself together, and I know exactly what to say. Now that I am far removed from the people that I used to know, now that I am learning where I need to go, there will be more stories to tell, to sing about in songs. Like the bards of the old ages, but all of them are gone. They live on in this book. Today I left New York and traveled to 50 states. I read my poetry to anyone who will listen. I'm becoming quite well known. But I feel like no one knows me. And the faces of the people I see make me recognize that what I see inside their eyes is more than all the print I have written in my life. If I was given the chance, I would trade the power of expressing thought through words for the single moment I looked into your eyes. But because we can do both, and the one is not opposed to the other, I will do both. And I will say that your eyes are more beautiful than all the gold in the world. And I must repeat this again and again. One day I will be gone. I would like to thank God who provided me with the generous air. And if there is no God, then I will thank you for taking the time to ponder over my words, to take them into your being, because there they will live for 1,000 years. There we will be together. And I do not promise that when you die it will be anything pleasant. But what we understand about what is good and what feels more painful than death is wrong to us, because our nerves are quite deceived. Our hearts do not understand. We do not give enough of ourselves. We are sinking into the fathomless ocean, but we do not know what lies beneath, or if we should be afraid. I know that words are for the powerful, for the uneducated, for the slave and the free. Everyone who leads this is the leader of the free. Free yourself from whatever insults your flesh, and your flesh will be a poem, untainted, worthy, and present. Free to devote all your life and body to others, to hate tyrants who try to control, because they cannot take away what is dearest to you. They cannot take away your charity. We are citizens of a country in which we are at war with our own brothers. Long Island air, people going to work, giving themselves away. I am a journalist. I am the bearer of bad news, the one you will see at a funeral. I've fallen in love with you who are about to die. I will never speak your language, but when I walk by, what I see in your eyes will give me hope. Our nations fall around us. Our hopes were burning. This is the future. This is our choice. Look out and breathe in the bright world and recognize that every word you say is poetry, and it is very saddening to understand that we never slow down enough to realize that. We are everything to each other. Lacks one, lacks both. Tonight, dear friend, live your life and you will never die. Your lungs will stop, but you will go on, in the minds of those you leave behind. Feel everything. Understand we have this one chance. To you I say, you are Cosmos, a son of Manhattan, and whoever degrades you degrades me, and whatever is done or said returns at last to me. I see God in your eyes. I see God in the sunset. I see God in the last waning days of summer. In the smile I will never see from you again I see God. Yet understand nothing about God. I see God in the club at night, when the band takes the stage for the first time, itching to change the world, but they will understand what I perceive, that to be with those they like is enough. I invite you to feel my soul, and it envelopes you in every step you take. I behold God in every object, and understand that every object is named by God. Nothing lasts forever except for you and me, except for our souls, forever striving and wanting and needing. The construction worker who lost his life when the building collapsed, I have a message for him. The singer who was gunned down at his own concert, I have a message for him. The newborn infant who will not know life as a teenager, I have a message for her. Though life is cut short, it is just as good to die as to be born. The beginning and the ending are equally wonderful, and the days we spent apart are equally wonderful as the days we spent holding hands, because all things are equally wonderful. We are not separated, and we need to take in every moment. We need to not stand here like trees in the ground. If your life exists under this sun, if you have a story to tell, even if your pain is overwhelming, in a nation far away from me, I love you, and also, I know that your life is a great poem. Your soul is more than a poem. No poet will write it. When all poets are dead, the poem will live on. When I am dead, you will understand that there never was any more inception than there is now, nor any more perfection than there is now, nor any more love than there is now, nor any more heaven or hell than there is now. The lure of what the priests call heaven has become nothing to me, and the threat of what is called hell is little or nothing to me. We are alone wasting time in the world. When you sound your barbaric yawp, then we will never be more alike. Another bus trip across the country. On Manhattan streets, everyone is distracted. There will never be a better time to scream because we are alive. Routine kills our love. It kills our opportunities. I imbibe what makes every person sing in pure joy or ecstasy. If we do not find that joy, then we are nothing. We have fallen asleep, fallen into a daydream, like students in a class they dread. Another boring lecture, and I will be the one telling you to wake up. Now is not the time to sleep. Now we are alive. I have read poems about the lover and his beloved, and the pain they feel together through their lives. I will not tell this to everyone, but I will tell you. I feel every ounce of pain you feel. I do not run from it. I embrace it with open arms. I fall in love with your pain. I drench myself in it. Because we are perfect. This is what I sing about every night when I feel happy. This is the song myself. It is more aptly called the song of you. But we are running out of time. The news brings isolation and gripping despair. We inhale and breathe out with joy. I recall how you lay down and breathe slowly and softly alone, but still watch the breeze flow across the lake. Has anyone supposed it lucky to be born? I hasten to inform him or her that it's just as good to die, different from what anyone supposed and luckier. While I watched the passing breeze, I waited for it, and it called my name. It told me about music, about art, and about love. While the world grew quieter, my voice grew louder. My voice grew into a barbaric sound, compared to all that was in the world. As we sailed our ship toward better shores, and we began to describe our journey to generations that would follow us, we became united in our accomplishment. I passed death with the dying and birth with the new-washed baby. I labor with those who labor. I wait with those who wait. Forever I will be faithful. I dance with those who dance. I love with those who dance. I flee voraciously into the night with those who flee, as refugees from nations that are caving in on themselves, and toward these states or any other nation. I exist as I am, that is enough. If no other in the world be aware, I'm content. And if each and all be aware, I sit content. One world is aware, and by far the largest to me, and that is myself. And whether I come to my own today or in 10,000 or 10 million years, I can cheerfully take it now, or with equal cheerfulness I can wait. How many of us have forgotten the promises made in our youth? How many of those in dreadful despair can hope for the light of salvation? How many of those in love have found the object of their love? How many in the graves can truly feel? The truth is, they all do. In the generations that have passed, you will feel the movements of past generations. You will feel the depth of each hour passing, and it does not tell you why. You will feel content whether or not you are aware. And you will feel unbridled love, released from its cage, surging towards you, always finding you. Let others tell you what they please, but you will never escape. As I wait by the side of the bus station, I feel sorrow for what has gone before, for the unrelenting heartbreak of time long past, and of the depth of the motion and of falling deeper into the oceans you can only drown in. And I sit content here, as I sink deeper into these oceans, the light slightly piercing through the water, leading me somewhere I will only understand when I get there. In moments like these, waiting and seeing silent voices, I sit content. And when I drift off to sleep, there is calmness. And when we fall together, we embark on a new adventure and become glued to each other, so that if one of us is lacking, then both of us are lacking. When the disease comes, we will fall victim. We will be threatened and retaliated against. We will be taken against our will to a state of isolation. When the life inside our bones becomes frail, and when our need grows and love becomes inevitable. The poet is known by his honesty, which all men can trace from him, and follow, and believe in this honesty, and hold the poet closer than a brother, and yes, even closer than a lover. Because the poet breathes in truth, more than science and more than routine. We have learned to love those who have always hated us. We have learned to filter all things through ourselves. We have embraced all that is radical and all that seems mundane. We have fallen through the oceans and we have drowned in them. Do I contradict myself? Yes, because I'm immense and contain multitudes, and spread myself thin through the love I bestow on a nation, through the forgetting of my own life. The only thing that is of itself is the soil. All other things flow from the soil and reach up toward the sky for love. The spirit receives from the body just as much as it gives to the body. And all of us, whatever background we have it the same way. Let your wisdom flow from your heart, and let your heart then be a guide for your voice, and let your voice be a guide for the nations. Whatever satisfies the soul is truth. As we discover the emptiness and the goals which we strove to accomplish throughout our entire lives, we sink further into our own tears, and we taste the apathy of never leaving the hole we have made for ourselves. Do you ever stand up and realize that the world looks different from where you are standing? To me, my life is nothing but questions repeating, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with fools, of myself forever being the fool, of eyes that sought light in vain, of empty and useless years of the rest, with the rest, me, intertwined. The question, O me, so sad and repeating, what good amid these, O me, O life? Answer, that you are here, that life exists in identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. A wild and breathing mess of life finds its salvation in the spaces where we never were comfortable, freezing from the thoughts of abandonment, of the endless trains of the faithless and the betrayers, of pills that silence minds, of minds silenced by governments, and business deals made behind closed doors, and you never had a choice. Now freezing from lack of connection, from lack of truth, from lack of love, from overflowing of poverty, spilling out into the vast universes, from never finding home again, or anything that was in fact familiar. You travel these worlds. You will fall so far across the opposite end of the world. Your story will be told in archaic ways when the words are stuck here in form, by those who live thousands of ages from now. But what you have felt can never be changed or be altered in any way by any person living or dead. Your feelings are true. The foolish will not understand you, but I understand you. I listen intently to every word you speak, and I take you by the hand and guide you to the home you have forgotten, but will remember as soon as you breathe and experience it. When the world loses control of its own mind, you will hold close to the kelson of creation. The men of the earth are your brothers, and the women of the earth are your sisters and lovers, in an endless game of our lives. We live with nothing but broken pieces. We cast the fear from our lives. We embrace life through all the tribulations that it offers us, and in weathering of every storm. 10 million faces, we pass them all by. We are freed by each other. The embrace of nature in all its times and cycles, in all its passing moments, that while we do not understand them or know what they are, here we love them unconditionally. We are spread thin. We give all we have to offer. Remember that you could have been me, that in these moments I could have been feeling what you experience. We are numb to the experiences of others. We are numb to our own nature. When we make mistakes, we wish we could have another chance. We will never forget the pain. We will never forget the ocean that swallowed us whole. I'm the poet of innovation, the poet of science, the poet of not only nature and living things, but also the poet of zeros and ones, of endless hours of calculations and learning and building and creating, of days when we will spill all ourselves into the machine. And this machine gains its own personality and its own awareness. I'm the learner of secrets, and I'm the carrier of my own secrets. I will tell you these secrets, to you and to you alone. I will be here when all secrets are exposed, and I will be here when all secrets are hidden and eventually destroyed. There is no escape from what you hold in your soul. No alibi will exonerate you. I sing the anthems complete, of nations that forgot their people, and forgot how to sing from their own hearts, but instead marched on, with songs that told tens of millions of lies, as they marched their armies through the street, while children stood by the side, starving and weeping, while weary slaves toiled and toiled, while mothers strove to escape across the mountains to gain a brighter future for their children, and poets pounded away at their keyboard, and waved their ink swords, as the doors to their homes were bust wide open, and the secret police found them, and took them to a labor camp. And I stood by and watched all of these, and felt all these things, and dreamed with those who dreamed, and fought with those who fought, and carried with those who carried, and became those who were in the most agonizing pain, and gave words to those who were pressed down further than they would ever be pushed into the ground. I fill in the record complete, of the trial where the pistol has fallen, but no one remembered who had fired the rounds. I exist in the space between the slave and the master, and I judge neither. I am exact without remorse in my calculating and craving, and receiving whatever it is I crave. Truth. And I felt your tears as they fell down my cheek onto the pages of these leaves. And I sang songs that you had forgotten. I walked in places where lovers lived but moved out, after the divorce. I sang the song of the children who stood there in unfathomable pain, as they learned that their parents would never speak again. And I have tried every drug. I have joined so close to you that I know all your secrets. I have been the greatest alcoholic in the world. I have experienced the greatest chastity and restraint from wickedness, and the greatest lust and debauchery. I am not partial more to one than the other, because I have always labored with those who are laboring, those who have been thrust down into the depths of poverty. I was there when you were lifted out of poverty, and I was there when you were thrust into a foreign country, and the currency was destroyed, and everyone in that nation started to starve. I was there when the civil wars were fought, and I labored in a hospital with the dying. I held their hands as limbs were amputated, and what was removed fell horribly into a pail. I was there when the soldiers journeyed home, and when those who were slaves were freed. And then there was celebration, union, and reconciliation, joy among hardship, labor, and reaping the just rewards of labor. Worlds where there is no theft, but everyone receives the fruit of their toil, the joy in the song, the life in the depth of charity, the truth and dignity of finding. We have lost more than we are willing to admit. To touch my person to someone else's is about as much as I can stand. The strain of the turmoil of the universe is converging and changing. How in our minds there is something like regret, something like change coming to my heart, where I can feel the pleasures of breath and eating and dreaming, where we recognize how helpless we are, how desperate and wild we have become. Blind touch we all crave, when we can feel nothing else but touch. I imagine what it is like to become blind and deaf suddenly, and then wait in the silence and the darkness for your lover to come back to you and find you in the fallen state that you are in, and you feel her touch, and you recognize it and have hope, because only what no one denies is truth. I have walked these paths, and I learned the lesson complete, which came from walking these paths. I do not ask any more the delight than to learn of the leaves of grass the journey work of the stars, which are emblems of the highest, adorning the parlors of heaven, the miracle of existence, the miracle of waking up on evenings of winter, and walking outside, and seeing these snow-covered streets, and feeling the snow cover your jacket, and you brush the snow off like leaves from the trees. You keep writing and dreaming. We have let the time pass too quickly. We did not drink in enough of the world. We let it pass us by so quickly. We lay awake in the dark and wept for our sins. We discussed our duty to God, and we became slaves when we bent our knees to politicians and kings. We are always moving forward for an infinite amount of time. We reach out for love, which we do not so easily feel. We miss the people who used to be in our lives, who will never again feel us or see us. And we drew back the blinds of our lives and looked out into the beautiful and brilliant world. We galloped further on horses at an uncontrollable rate to meet the end of all time. We lay alone on our beds and watched the stars. We watched them move slowly across the skies. The skies had been broken open, and those watching the skies asked God to save them from the storm. When they were in the middle of the sea, did they find their salvation? Indeed, they were saved, and they did walk on land once more. The ship was anchored for more voyages, where more captains would lead and more passengers would fearfully tread those decks. The songs within the hearts of nations across the universes. When despair falls upon us swiftly, and eventually, when all hope expires, we sink into the ground. I think you whole. I dream you wide-eyed. I become the nation and the song in the hearts of the nations. I become the clock myself. I become the one who falls in love during the war, while the mortar is fired. I am the lonely soul who walks the world after the war, who traverses the world searching for another soul. No, I will not find anyone. The world was betrayed by its rulers. Now there is no world here. I must look elsewhere for the world. I am the music at the club, as people dance, as love is brighter than despair, as all equals fall together through the cycle and end up in the ground, as we pay the full price for what we believe we have sinned, for the ocean of depth we have craved and justly received. It is true that all people find what they generally want most. What suits the people here around me, as we wait at the factory floor. Labor will be completed, but there will be no payment, no thrusting joys. In this dream of ours, I am not understandable. The factory workers have no hope for finding another life. Those born here will always die in the same class they started. Did you hear the times when the voices were shut down? Did you hear of the times when the internet was no longer connecting us? Did you hear of the tools you have now but never used to communicate what is going on in the world, or rather what is in your heart? Where within the politics of this heart of yours, you will find the politics and wars and death of every nation, and also the rise of every regime. The art of every person from every nation, the truth and rebellion, the obvious truth that invades your own soul when you realize that your own words draw others to these same heartstrings, which pull the hearts of others in the same way yours have been pulled. Desire and weariness. We recognize that we cannot move forward with our lives away from grief. We dance to music. We sing symphonies to the animals in the wilderness. We run from pain. We embrace the truth, which we have found in learning to understand those who will never return from war. I sing their story, those who have had taken from them what they hold closer than their own hearts. As a peaceful cantor, I sing their symphony completely. I dream of oceans, of belonging and falling in love. I create true art from the broken pieces of multitudes of shattered lives and dreams. I hear the symphony roaring. I can feel the dark of this night fall once more. I candidly tell you all these inescapable realities. We, those separated, for the longest time amid the light of your own life force, and by this light we are found. You oceans that have been calm within me, how I feel you, fathomless, stirring, what was burning within the whole of human natural hearts, for the entire life of the world. No one will learn my lessons completely, because neither have I learned what I was teaching. I am the most ignorant of all, yet I am the most experienced man in the whole of universes. When life goes on and our lives change, we remember all the times we stayed inside our shells and lived in fear, never seizing the present moment, always slipping in our own doubts. The world is always changing. We embrace the pain like a friend, but we say the same for all the pleasures of the universes. The galaxies move in subsequent rhythm. We count the days until it is finally time to say goodbye. I still sit content through all the pain and debauchery that is in the world. No, I will never be moved. And when I come to my hometown, I cry bitter tears for all the times that are gone, a feeling of grand regret that could intoxicate me, but it will never influence me because I will not let it. I will be content when the hours pass, and we are amorously greeted by friends and dear family, and I will sit content when we come home in the cold, and there is no one in our home. They have left, but are they gone forever? You are also asking me questions, and I hear you. I answer by saying I cannot answer. You must find out for yourself. In studying the grand motion of the universe, you will find these answers instantly and easily, and in another sense, you will never find these answers. No matter how much effort or scientific study you put into finding these answers, and diving deeper into an infinite ocean, where you know you feel at peace, at home, and can never drown. As you write more and more about that what agonizes you, you lay at night with tears. You have admitted that all hope is gone. No matter what others tell you, the future will be merciless in its charity, in its depth, and in its vast resurrections, in subsequent cycles of death and rebirth. It will take you, squeeze you dry, take every last voracious drop from your body, send you into the battlefield, where you must fight for your life. And then there will be mourning, but afterwards reconciliation and the best kind of joy, the contentment you will only otherwise find in the arms of the closest lover, in the arms of someone you love so much. You'd never let go of them, in the complete ecstasy that all songs were sung about. But the nature of the cycle of creation is both beautiful, ordinary, mundane, and miraculous. I do not deny that it is also deceitful and hard to understand, always flaunting its true form, but you never understand this form, and prayers will be prayed, hands lifted toward the sky. Days follow and nights come, and cities are founded and destroyed, worlds rebuilt, as the masses roar for revolution once again, and sing the song of democracy. The waves parting on the shore, the days passing, the waves now breaking between my feet. Walking down the side of the beach, seeing the sun shining brightly, seeing the light of every nation sink away over the oceans, walking separate directions after we meet on the beach, and then we walk that way unto the ages of ages. And your adventurous life takes you through more toil while you work at a quarry, not receiving enough wages to survive, not receiving what you need to survive. So you find yourself caught up in a constant struggle. The days become like mania, and the nights so soaked with sadness and weariness. We can never have what we want. We always fall away from our own desires. We dream of nights when we are together, but really, we are thousands of miles away. We are dreaming of the embrace, the seconds when the overlap of our own days is fulfilled, and we make ourselves into something extraordinary. In opening our minds to one single friend, and sharing everything we have to that friend. How the love we need is found in sharing the truth of emotion, and not only emotion, but also the acts of charity, and what drives us to this charity. I do not give a little charity. When I give all of myself. Give to everyone who asks of you. Love the sea and earth and animals. Do not have spite for any man or woman. Greet the day with mercy, for time marches on itself mercilessly. And mercy is rare and beautiful and full of wonder. How it changes the entire world in an instant, because changing the world around you in small ways always affects the world itself. We are more than our immediate surroundings. There is a bright and big world around us. There are truths we feel when we journey the life with the stars, when we crawl back towards a love which we always have wanted, when we cast out our fear despite our past mistakes, when we are so lost and do not know where on the face of the earth we have gone. Though there may not be any angels to guide us on our journey, the best moments in our lives are always those moments when there was a connection. The best moments in our lives were always those moments when there was no connection with any, except for the passing breeze and our back against the tree. As we would write in books, quietly, whispering, trying to describe the feeling the wind gives us, but not being able to let anyone else know. How would you describe the world to someone who never has seen the world? How can someone with no experience ever hope to understand experience? How far will we sink until we reach the bottom of the brave oceans? How do we react when we know we have been betrayed by our dearest friends? They have gone their own way. They must tread their own path. You cannot judge them or abase yourself to them. A child came to me and asked, "What is the grass?" How could I answer the child? I do not know what it is any more than he. Maybe it is the thread of green stuff woven, a handkerchief of the Lord, designedly dropped, so that we could find it and then look at it and say, "Whose?" Or perhaps it is the uncut hair of graves. Perhaps it is not for us to finally know these things, for in not knowing them, we find all the knowledge we need to know, and being content with the nature of the world, and falling further into the depths of one reality. And we will stay here dreaming. We are not limited by the concept of time and space. We are here together. We are never separated. The worlds are always converging. When we go our separate ways, we will realize the road will lead us back to the same place where we began together. When the clocks tick until I have become the clock itself, I greet all who study me to recognize that their time is expiring. I become the poison and the cure for the poison. I become both what is new and what is old, and what will never be seen or heard from again. I become the one who has left you, but will never leave you. I become loneliness itself, jealousy and desperation, pain begetting hatred, hatred begetting death. I become the days that pass when you wait alone and your lover does not come. I become the joy of true love in all its fullness. I become the desire for more than anything we could possibly achieve. Battles, the horrors of fratricidal war, the fever of doubtful news, the fitful events, these come to me days and nights, and go from me again. And they are not the me myself. Apart from the pulling and hauling stands what I am, stands amused, complacent, compassionating, idle, unitary, looks down, is erect, or bends an arm on an impalpable certain rest, looking with side-curved head, curious what will come next, both in and out of the game, in watching and wondering at it. Backward, I see in my own days, where I sweated through fog with linguistics, contenders. I have no mockings or arguments. I witness and I wait. And as I do, I am patient and understand. When the music is turned up as loud as it can go, we find ourselves enthralled with it. We find currents of rhythm flooding through us. We find words that explain the current state of the world, and we exercise the politicians of our own souls. Rhymes and rhymers pass away. Poems distilled from poems pass away. The swarms of reflectors in the polite pass, and leaves ashes. Admirers, importers, obedient persons make but the soil of literature. America justifies itself. Give it time, no disguise can deceive it or conceal from it. It is impassive enough. Only toward the likes of itself will it advance to meet them. If the poets appear, it will be in due time advance to meet them. There is no fear of mistake. The proof of the poet shall be sternly deferred till his country absorbs him as affectionately as he has absorbed it. I am the actor, the actress, the politician, the immigrant, and the exile, the criminal that stood in the box, he who has been famous and he who shall be famous after today, the well-formed person, the wasted or feeble person. Deftly I stand awake through the passing night. I keep watch faithfully and firmly. As the politician's craft lies, they will feel the boot prints of the poets. As lies are spread, in schools like wildfire. The creators of those lies will feel the blueprints of the poets. As disaster is about to befall a nation, and the leaders do nothing, these so-called leaders will feel the blueprints of the poets. As the poets spit out from their pens like waterfall that continuously streams and flows, and grows stronger in the current with each moment, they walk over any who challenges truth. Whatever fulfills the soul is truth. Whatever insults the soul is deceit. We are in dreams, not sure if we are dreaming or if we are awake. So we try to end our own lives in this dream to see if we will wake up, but never wake up. I have too many words to say. If I expressed myself completely, there would not be enough space in all the universes for all the books that would be written. In my immensity I overflow. I spill over not a little charity, but all charity. I do not abase myself to the body. No part, no inch, or any particle of an inch is vile. Any who abases themselves to the body abases themselves to me. And anyone who does not experience the body has no knowledge of me. Anyone who does exists in the empire of the cosmos and can have their part with me, can find themselves writing and expressing, and telling all the truths I have told. And the poets to come after me will write words of power, trampling the wicked politicians, signing the signature of democracy in the documents of every constitution, bringing truth instead of zealotry, life instead of burning unquenchable fire, connection instead of alienation, desperation that follows us and takes us to many unimaginable places. And we have a spirit inside that moves us. We have lives buried in our own world. We have drawn the lines between where we are and where others are, and these lines are imaginary. I have followed through with all my promises. In the endless sea, where we fear loneliness, I have given all that I am. I have embraced so many things, not limited by human imagination or space and time. I have drawn you and painted the portrait of you in the most complete sense. I have crawled with you through the trenches. I have labored with you as you labored. I have walked with you as you walked when the sun went down, and when you were restless, I stayed up all night with you. And I felt a zealous connection to you, and will always feel this connection forever. The bustling of the city, people on every corner, and I will be somewhere, walking in the cold, seeing the moon and admiring it, and feeling the cold night breath on my face, called by those I love. Speech is the twin of my vision. It is unequal to the measure itself. It provokes me forever. It says sarcastically, Walt, you contain enough. Why don't you let it out then? I follow the movements of those who pass by, plodding on the pavement, endless talk in Times Square, where there are poets speaking and harbingers of old religions, preaching about fire and death, seeing the sunrise, thinking about what it would be like to see the same sunrise in 1,000 or 10,000 years, and what people will be feeling, and how they will speak, and breathe and thrive. Grand Central Station, a touch closer than family. Trains moving forever, flashing lights, as many of you who are one of a crowd. Remember that I was one of the crowd. I will be in that crowd forever, but you will not find me there. I will be in these words forever, and you will always find me here. Can you tell me what was lost when your home was burned? Can you tell me what is lacking? Is it your purpose? Could it be because of the sterility of the hours that are relentlessly passing? The mystical shadows move along as we wait for the time to pass, as we wait for the movements of the universe to arrive where we want it to be. As we fall and rise, we embrace our family. As I echo the ocean of life and throw myself on the beach, where we dream of living long and happy lives, we are alone for the first time. We greet each other as lovers, and we fall together in an embrace that would be echoed forever through the halls of the fear of dying, of echoes of mortality. We can safely say that we have fallen deeply in love, but hearts are broken and mended in time, lives torn, fire born in our hearts. Tired eyes never find rest. Dreariness begetting dreariness, exasperation bringing illness. And then we live our last days and file our lives like a document into a place no one would ever discover. What we have done in the dark, or who we loved, or who we hated, and the actions we took for love and hate, whatever exudes from and satisfies my very soul. In this perfect moment where we lay alone, where we reach and touch, We remember the times that have passed, the days that radically drenched themselves in not only rainfall. In this rainfall we will find the memories of our past, but also in the amorous embrace of love lost long ago. Of pictures broken, of paintings undone, of internet posts deleted, of lives unwritten, songs unsung. By the shores of the beach I will sit and write. I become enamored with the words themselves on the page, though I do not know what inspires me, or what drives you to do your day-to-day habits, what causes complacency, and what causes vitriolic resistance, and being soaked in oceans where we will never move on from them again, because we are content to drown in a place where we are too comfortable to move out. How do we not move from where we are standing? When the battles are fought, we will give up and become complacent, when we realize we are fighting a hopeless battle, that there is no one providentially listening, that these words are not shared with the rest of the world, but the sun still shines in a way indiscriminate to all. We suffer from great wounds lying on hospital beds after this war, fighting for broken causes, living for a dream that will never be fulfilled, living through a misery that no one would ever easily understand, dying in the arms of loved ones, living through lives of perfect misery, suffering in our youth. Come here and greet the night. Come and talk of the deception of those who stole money from those in need, of those who are suffering more than anyone ever has, of those dreaming about nations that no one will ever see, of the skeletons we have left behind after we ourselves join those who came before. When you look for me under your shoes. The record of the deeds that led us here, now lost. The record of the lives forgotten, now burned. As we speak to those suffering, we mourn with them. As we speak to those in joyous song, we rejoice with them. We follow our own dreams and they illuminate all nations. Innocence in our youth. With the time now elapsed, we have witnessed things that scarred us. Summers in the bright world, dreams flooding our souls and telling us about perfection and happiness, where we will stand unblemished by the time that surrounded us. Every sensation, every boiling moment of life, the life lived with broken families, the words that are too difficult to write, the days that pass too quickly to ever understand any of them, when we rejoice in celebration from the feeling that we will always be loved, we find our truth in the arms of our lover. We find our love and salvation forever and after, in the acceptance of all these truths that bring us to the place we have sought our entire lives. Uncontrollable emotion, virulent song. Why does it move forward forever? What can stop a heart that is unleashed, confronting despair and destroying it with joy? Indeed, nothing will stop a heart thus rendered. When our lives are bent, we try to fix the problems we have. We conquer our hate. We fall into the empire of cascading light and contradiction. The memories that were laid out so clearly now lost. The regret flooding a mind, now slowly transformed into joy. And joy going into the hearts of faithful men and women of the democracy. A new nation created freed from tyranny. Pain corrected and set aright. Diseases cured and absolutely done away with. Memories of a time long gone, we hold on to them. Grasping tighter than any lover, holding and never willingly letting go. Thriving and accomplishing all things. Fulfilled, no nation left in despair. No empire falls without giving birth to nations. Liberty will only come through toil of the poets, and labor absorbed by their country as firmly as they have absorbed it. Here we are in rooms so far from each other. You study the ceiling, and I study my notebook, lost in a world on my own. We are both so far from all the places we have ever called home. A beautiful soul, a beautiful heart, a beautiful mind left all alone, and yes, a beautiful face that the cosmos has not yet loved. Arms that have not felt its embrace. Lonely nights passing through till dawn, and we tread the factory floor, where workers toil and labor in vain. We send our love to everyone who ever greeted us. Journalists writing and capturing the moments when history is made, when walls are broken, although only some walls, and not the greatest of these walls, comes tumbling down. Dreaming and thriving, and needing, and learning, and believing at night that you committed crimes, but waking up and realizing you are exonerated. You have given everything you have to find the life you wanted with your lover. You have been entrenched in silence where no one will hear of the murder in cold blood of 412 young men. They gave up their arms and marched back, prisoners of war. Large, turbulent, brave, handsome, proud, and affectionate. Not even one of them over 30. They were brought and massacred Sunday morning, but none obeyed the command to kneel. Torn and covered with blood, the bodies were burned, so that there would be no compelling evidence of their slaughter, and their ashes were dispensed to the earth. But the earth remembered them, and still does hundreds of years later. As we are held so closely by the ones we loved, we remember what it is like to lose, when so much is at stake, when losing would spell disaster, when disaster would destroy your worlds. But we lift our faces, greet the depth of the darkness that stares us down, light a torch for ourselves, and walk bravely but no longer blindly into that night, where we are no longer bound by despair. Because what we had lit guides us through the tunnels of long and tremulous chasms and mazes of a life that had turned into a nightmare. By God, I will accept nothing which all cannot have their counterparts of on the same terms. Through me are heard many dumb voices, many foolish voices, many rash and emotional, sensational voices, crying out for rescue in the middle of disaster. Through me are heard voices of the pious priest and the infidel. Through me are heard the voice of the best and of the worst of peoples, the ones who have given everything away and the ones who squandered their wealth. The eaters and drinkers, the starving and the thirsty. The breath of my low voice, all of them heard in this book. The idle banter of all throughout the city, I am a citizen of. Those trading stocks, those marching on through the streets, selling trinkets on every corner, those driving taxis, those fetching from a question all the answers they sought, the look of the sea over the horizon, the fleet of ships, the bright and glorious rise of the sun, the bard of old times wishing they could describe their world, the prophet of old times, who failed at predicting this future moment, confidence misplaced, evidence mishandled and fabricated. The trial will continue, despite the injustice that will come, while churchgoers sit patiently in pews listening to the lectures of pastors, and listening to the talk of the beginning and the end, unspoken love, spoken hatred, contorting what is real, bringing with it decay. The past is the window into the future, because nothing on this earth is new. All things have happened before. The poor and desperate and alone, the slaughtered and the wandering. Nature will not fail them. The myriads of life that thrive as I explain myself and stand up. The clock indicates the moment, but what does eternity indicate? We have thus far exhausted trillions of winters and summers. There are trillions ahead. As we walked across the bridge, we gazed into the ocean. Enthralled with every second we felt. I became in love with the spray of the sea. I dreamed of beautiful and ardent times, where the sun shines on us brighter, where we are united by our own common passion for the natural world. Though we are on opposite sides of the world, not understanding what it truly means to be alive. We play video games. We hide ourselves away from the world. We sink deeper into sadness. We amass pains in our souls over every year. We breathe in compassion for everyone who walked past us without speaking. We have drawn out our own hope, and we have shown it to everyone we met. We believed in what was superior to nature. We followed religion, hoping to find a way out of the shell of nature. But nature follows you, guides you to places where you believed in heaven. The threads that were spun are gathered. The change is systematic. Worried mothers for their children. What is loved is brought, sold, and butchered. What is butchered falls to the ground. What goes through me accepts all pain and all pleasures and joys. In all great hardships, the sound of the keys as the script is written. How I love that which was sold, but what is sold is no longer love at all. In moments when music eludes us, when we forget how deeply loved we are, we hang our hopes on nets, and then these nets are left to be devoured by men who do not understand them. They take and destroy, not knowing what they have seized. We can count the hours that have passed us by. If we could draw in the melody of the rhythm of these same seconds, as I sit with a typewriter on the national lawn in Washington, D.C., and begin to write a story about loves lost, promises broken, and then I get up and experience the world and find the same experience I found in my writing, no matter where I go. If you can measure my charity, you will measure a number greater than could be counted in the universe. Where do we go when our family has abandoned us? Our homes will be broken, our lives will be open to rust and decay. Our open storehouses that we had inside our hearts can no longer be given to the rest of the world, because in our solitude, we have lost our will to write and our will to be emotional and create something more beautiful than we will ever read. So we must write our own stories and write our own books that take us to lands we want to go to instead of places we never wanted to go. When you comprehend the penetration of your own heart, when after sextillions of years the world will come full circle and people will be wondering the same things. But you shall not take things at second or third hand, neither shall you see things from my eyes. You shall filter all things from yourself. Necessary opposites, beautiful love and creation of new worlds. Through this love and depth of routine, when complacency breeds ignorance, and what you feel grows until you explode in truth. You are encapsulated by what proceeds after disaster. The world is always one step away from the end of its life, but never will the world be destroyed. Bastion and storm of unbridled passion could never be contained. Memories of beautiful times. If you take things from me, I give them freely. When I give, I never ask it back. I am enamored with the taste of losing. Storms where we lay sleeping through the nights, as the wind howls and slams against the walls of our homes, as we invest our lives into keeping our homes safe, destroyed in an instant. Do you realize that death is only the beginning? Do you realize that purpose drives our complacency? Have you read my poems? Have you practiced so long to learn to read them? Unprecedented waves and storms are on their way. They flood the vacuous spaces. They flood the filled spaces and replace them with turmoil and then lament, and frequent tears, frequent exasperation. I do not understand what there could be more wonderful than myself. I perceive that to be with those I like is enough. Surrounded by laughing, breathing flesh is enough. Deep in this mystery, here I stand, arms outstretched, reaching out for all love. And I exist like this, and that is enough. Nations, teeming with thriving souls, souls filled with hearts of love. I do not give lectures, but everyone will learn my lessons completely. I am an American, one of the roughs. From this home, this nation, this hospitality, and every nation has become the inspiration of the words that flow from my pen. But really, my nation welcomes all into one bond of brotherhood, love. In times when we are filled with longing and regret, we drink in loneliness like a disease. We no longer feel peacefulness in our souls. We fight against the empires that have beset themselves against us. We carry with us the joys and the disaster, the life and despair, the moment of pure, exhilarating, but vain hope of fools when we think of times past. And we dream about feeling the same things we felt 10 years ago. There are people lost in the world who stand in line at bus stations, trying to reach their homes, but they never do. In other lands, there are people who feel the same. This feeling is universal, and I too feel the same way. As I go as far away from home as I can, never to return, and greet strangers on the street, reading them poems, and when they read these poems, they grow attached to the music of words, the song that is sung to put us to sleep, the song that is sung to wake us up and rally the revolution. The song that is sung urging us to take up arms and fight and kill and destroy. The song that is sung urging every nation in the world to lay down their arms, give up the fight. And in fact, this song now translated into every human language, in the feeling that war itself causes everyone to desire the end of the wars. I will not say there can be any more of a hell than the pain of war and genocide. But still I see something of God in each hour of the 24. And I am called by God. I am loved to never be lying down and giving up the ghost. Someone said, Walt, your book is everything and nothing, a windstorm of assertion indiscernible in its parts. And I hasten to inform her. All life is everything and nothing. That the effervescent immensity that would not be realized except in a book of a grand and intoxicating scale, where you can see the beauty of the natural parts of the universes, where you realize that your part is but small, that your verse may be long forgotten in eons, but the effect is eternal, pushing you forward, the grand story of everything and nothing, the cleansing motions of love, the love and pleasure of a life given, and when offenses are forgiven, depth of movements, power of life, liberty and reconciliation. How we could describe any of the epic stories that have happened, but instead we will never describe anything. I cannot stand still, because I must always be moving through a world and seeing faces of strangers, and the subtle motion of the wind guides me across the world, calling me in the depth and presence of beautiful times and forgotten places. There is something that comes home to someone now and perpetually. All truths wait in all things. They neither hasten their own delivery nor resist it. They do not need the obsteric forceps of the surgeon. The insignificant is as big to me as any. What is less or more than a touch? The country shut down. The world slows to a crawl, and we all stayed inside our homes, growing longingful to return to the days we had before. I speak the password primeval. I give the sign of democracy, and all nations accept this sign. All thriving, all creating, all innovation, all labor and payment, all commerce, all charity. Throughout all the world, the greatest thought is unbelief, not just of the things that are larger than life, but of the things that are surreal, events that completely shift the course of lives. Where once were thriving voices, now there is silence and decadence. If the world outside of us is a world we cannot see, we will stay deep inside our own homes, while the world lives out its hellish final days. We have no education and no way to fight for it. I am he that walks with the tender growing night, and holds you in the night closer than life. I sit by the campfire, and patiently recite stories by heart about lands where we stand head over heels, ready to fight our way through any obstacle. Though the world may push me down, I fight tenaciously for it. If you look for me and fail to find me at first, be encouraged. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere, waiting for you. Joseph Leo Hickey lives in Virginia. He is the author of 11 other poetry books, including Baptism of Apathy, Unity, Love Poems at the End of Our Lives, Leafy, The Last Poem, Purity Redeemed, The Penultimate Poems, Harmony, The Revenant, True Daughter of the Soil, and There's a Serenity in the Dark. He is currently 27 years old. He is the founder of Melodium House. His YouTube channel is All the Stars Are Dead. He can be reached at joseph@melodiumhouse.com. This presentation was read by the author. Thank you for listening.